Hello everybody, my name is James Elliott and I run Elliott Antique Clocks Limited, and I also run the eBay shop, the Horology Centre. And today I've got this really magnificent Jacot half Sonnerie carriage clock in this classic Rococo engraved case with dial mask. The really great thing about this is it's such an early example of Jacot's work. Jacot, coming along around the mid 19th century, tended to, or came along at the time when clocks were coming from bells onto gongs. So it's really quite rare to find a clock by Henri Jacot that's repeating on bells. The engraving's absolutely fabulous. It retains all its original gilding. The clock looks as good as the day it was made. Normally the gilding's worn on these clocks and they're re-gilded. Let's get a close-up of the dial. The dial's in really great condition. There is a very light mark between the 9 and the centre of the hands, but it's so minute it's not coming up on the camera. There you can see that beautiful Rococo engraving. Really high quality clock. We can see here that the dial is signed Henri Jacot, Paris. Such a rare thing to find, because this being such an early clock, this is by the original Jacot, the founder, as opposed to the nephew that was slightly later on. And it's stamped in between the movement plates, behind the dial plate, and also, even rarer, it's signed on the base here of the of the case. Or the movement base, whatever you want to, however you want to put it. So this is the oval Jacot mark. This is what you normally see sort of hidden away. So he's fully signed this clock for some reason, whether he's retailing it himself. Normally he's selling clocks to be sold by other companies such as Tiffany or Henri Capped. But here we've got a clock actually signed by him. I've had this with a Jacot, and Jacot's a similar maker in that sense. And there we can see how low the serial number is, 937. At least the majority of the Jacots I've had and never have a 3-number serial number. They can go up into the tens of thousands, the really late ones. So this is a really rare find, to find such an early clock, such an early example by Henri Jacot, and to have it in this what unquestionably is sort of you wouldn't be able to find such a clock. You know, it took me 10 years to find such a clock, and then it comes in this sort of fine original condition. So it's a really fantastic find. It's been a pleasure to work on. You can see there's barely any rubbing. There is no rubbing really. If I see some, I'll point it out, but I haven't spotted any. You can see it's original gilding because it's got that lovely, rich, intense gold colour, which you can only get by sort of firing off mercury. And you can't achieve this finish anymore, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, it's not unfortunate for those that had to do it and probably came to horrible grisly ends through mercury poisoning and what have you. So the clock's fully unwound at the moment. The clock's a half Sonnerie, as I said, which is the clock will strike the hours, obviously on the hour, and then it will strike on the half hour with the hours, and then 2 ting-tangs. And then by pressing the repeat button, it will give you full bronze Sonnerie. So that's what's called a half Sonnerie. So it's like a repeat on demand, if you like. So it's not striking the quarters, it's only striking the halves. But also when you press the repeat button, it will give you the quarters. So I found this, it's not the original key, but I've got a really nice period key to go with this clock, and it fits the clock really well. I just need to locate the hands. I say it's fully unwound. The strike, I believe, is wound, and you want to hear these bells. These bells are wonderful. Check this out. So this has really got a beautiful tone to it. The bells are stamped. So it's obviously come from a very high quality bell maker, hence the lovely striking noise. I took the key off because it can cause a vibration. So as you see, it doesn't strike the quarters. It's not designed to strike the quarters, because if you look at the striking train, it doesn't have the capacity in the wheel work, in the sense that the wheels would have to be much larger to cope for a quarter striking mechanism. But if you press the repeat button, then it will do a 3 ting tang for quarter 2. The clock, as I was mentioning how original the clock is, I mean, even right down to the base screws. Every single one of those screws are all original. You know, normally you've got a mishmash. Sometimes these platform screws are missing in the corners here. That's all there. It's just a really well-maintained clock. And at the back of the dial, it's every sort of 10 years there's a clockmaker's mark for when it had been overhauled, and the first one being 1870. So you know it's run for a good sort of 5-10 years, dating this clock at that really classic period of the 1860s, 1870s, where things were just a little bit finer, and then I think that was really the height of the quality of the Carriage clock, in my opinion. You know, the engraving was much finer, the quality of the movements were much better, and also the technology had moved on. So you get the best of both worlds. You don't get the niggly faults that really early clocks, you know, sort of the early sort of 1850, 1840 clocks sometimes have. So you've got that up-to-date technology with the finesse of the sort of earlier 19th century. And you know, I can't state enough how rare that is to have that Jacot signature on the dial. Jacot Paris. Anybody who's interested in Jacot, this will be an absolute delight. So if you're interested, you really need to contact me as soon as possible. The clock is still on test. It's freshly been overhauled at least 5 days now, and I tested it outside the case, and I cased it up a couple of days ago, and I put a little bit of a wind on it just to test it, and it ran absolutely fine. Now after this video, I'll wind it completely, test it for at least 3 weeks. It's all been timed on the timing machine, so I know that's all fantastic. Let's go upstairs and have a look at this. Look at that engraving. You couldn't really see it when I was looking from the other angle, because the light's bouncing down and you don't get to appreciate that awesome engraving and gilding. As I said, you won't see many clocks in this original condition, especially a forged case. They seem to rub far more easier than other cases seem to do. And there you see another sign of the clock being so early. It's got its gilded platform. This was prior to the days where they started silvering their platform escapements. Really nice early escapement. You can see all the screws are all original, all the original bluing. You can see how tentatively I impulse that escapement, and how freely it runs. You can see how tight the the handle is. It's just such a well preserved piece. So let's give the clock some power. As I said, it's fully unwound at the moment. The clock has all its original Geneva stopwork. A lot of the time, that's always, I say always, a lot of the time it's taken out just purely because the clockmaker doesn't understand how to set it up, and once they become worn they can cause problems, but this one is absolutely fantastic nick on both sides, on the strike as well. And the strike was practically unwound, so you'll expect it to be a bit quicker now. And there we can see the escapement immediately picking up speed. And it's really pumping away. Very little work done on the movement, hardly any bushing. That's just because the clock has been well maintained. And that's why you really need to get your clock sort of overhauled and cleaned every sort of, at least every sort of 5 to 8 years. Because then it, you know, you think you're saving money by not having it done, but in the long run, it's going to cause more problems, and then the bill is going to be more because more bearings and jewels will have to be replaced due to wear. So there we have it. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video of my fine Jacot carriage clock. And if you have any questions, any queries, please don't hesitate to contact me. It's probably best to email me directly. It's more than likely this clock won't make it onto eBay, so please don't expect to find it on eBay. You'd probably have to contact me directly because you know, a lot of my customers will be interested in this clock. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.